Welcome to Satan is My Superhero. In this episode, we will seek and destroy the four horsemen, join the metal militia, hit the lights, jump in the fire, and hope we don't get whiplash from our phantom lord who has no remorse and motorbreath. That's right, it's Metallica's debut album.
Metal up your ass! I mean, kill 'em all!
In the late 70s and early 80s, a teenage Danish tennis pro... Danish.
Maybe it would be best for everyone if you just gave up right now before you embarrass the show any further.
Tennis pro, living in LA, was going to heavy metal shows all over the world and getting himself backstage. This bratty little punk by the name of Lars Ulrich was hanging with the likes of Motorhead and Diamond Head.
If Machine Head had been around back then, he would have hung around with them too. I made a joke. It's not that hard.
Lars even ended up sleeping on Diamond Head guitarist Brian Tatler's floor for 2 weeks.
Are you a fan of the show, but not such a bratty little punk you would fly across the world to sleep on our floor?
Mum, was a 50-year-old man wearing a Man-O-War t-shirt asleep in my bottom bunk?
The easiest way you can show your support for us right now would be to give us a 5-star rating. Like, right now. Or, like, you can do it tomorrow if it's convenient. Or, just do it, like, right now.
Having ingratiated himself into the international heavy metal scene, Lars Ulrich felt the next logical step would be to start a band and learn to play the drums.
Some would argue he still hasn't done the second part.
Through a classified ad in the local newspaper, Lars found singer James Hetfield.
A classified ad was the 1981 version of Craigslist.
Looking for like-minded musicians to form a band and hoping to not be murdered.
Craigslist was the 2001 version of, who even knows nowadays?
Famously, Lars stole the name Metallica from his friend Ron Quintana's 1981 version of a blog post.
Hey Lars, I'm starting a fanzine and I can't decide what to call it. Should it be Metal Mania or Metallica?
Definitely call it Metal Mania. Metallica is a gross name. Yuck. Bleh. Promise me you'll never call anything Metallica. Promise me, Ron. Ron. Look into my eyes, Ron. Forget you ever thought of Metallica, Ron. Forget about it, Ron. The very next time you hear the name Metallica, it will be like hearing it for the very first time, Ron, and sleep.
I feel like the exact same thing happened to me. I was originally going to call this show the Joe Rogan Experience.
Boo.
Now remember way back to a couple of minutes ago, we all learned Lars was very good at networking and getting himself around and known. Well, Lars finds out a local entrepreneur is putting together a compilation album of unsigned bands. Lars being Lars, Metallica, although spelt with 2 T's on the first pressing, gets a spot on that album. They haven't even played a gig yet.
Can Metallica get a spot on that record?
Why would Ron's fanzine get a spot on our record?
No, he didn't call it Metallica. Did he?
No, I'm just yanking your chain. How's Metallica spelled? 1 T or 2?
Yes.
They're actually not even a band yet. It's just James and Lars, and they've only jammed together maybe 3 times.
If we play twice as fast, they'll think there's twice as many people in the band.
James had one original song he had written about photon abuse, so they recorded Hit the Lights. James played rhythm guitar and bass.
He has 4 arms.
While a friend of Ulrich's, Lloyd Grant, played the lead break.
Hey, Lloyd, can you do the... part?
So now they had a song on an album, but still no band. They roped in James's childhood friend Ron McGovney on bass and placed another classified ad for a lead guitarist.
Wanted. Asshat to join band. Must be a total douche.
Dave Mustaine answered that ad.
That douche.
And the first Metallica lineup was complete.
Woohoo! Now we're a real band!
Yeah, we hate each other.
The band practiced in McGovney's garage.
Mum's home!
At their first gig on March 14 in 1982 at the Radio City in Anaheim, the band played 7 new wave of British heavy metal covers and 1.5 originals. Mustaine's song, Jump in the Fire, was not yet complete.
Okay, here's a new song we've been working on. 1, 2, 3, 4, jump it up! Sorry, that's all we got so far.
While it's estimated there were no more than 30 people at that first show, there are at least 7,000 stories about how Mustaine broke a string that night. It must have been a pretty legendary string break.
Did you hear some guy broke a string at a rock show last night?
Oh my god, is everyone okay?
No, they're not. I don't think the LA metal scene will ever recover from this. Some of the other bands have started wearing makeup just to distance themselves from the whole incident. There's too many men.
Yeah, I know.
It's a sausage fest. Every script's a sausage fest.
I do ancient history or heavy metal.
I know. Where are the ladies?
Metallica's second gig ever, was at the Whiskey A Go-Go opening for new wave of British heavy metal legends, Saxon.
Dear Lord Satan, if you are real, prove it by giving me the opening spot for an international touring band. Dear Lord Satan, if you are real, prove it to me by giving me the, let's try and get the pronunciation right, not turn into William Shatner.
So how do Metallica find themselves opening for an international touring band, at the Whiskey A Go-Go, on just their second outing?
It's the genius of Lars Ulrich, surely.
No, not this time. Fellow LA alumni Motley Crue had originally been booked for the slot because they were in the process of blowing up. The crew then decided they no longer wanted the gig because they were in the process of blowing up.
Every boy's wet dream.
Now, it turns out a certain Ron McGovney had been working as a photographer for Motley Crue. Side note, being the photographer for Motley Crue has to be one of the worst jobs in rock and roll.
Hey Ron, what f-stop are you using? I want my eyeliner to really pop.
So anyway, legend has it that a couple of the boys from Motley Crue personally introduced Metallica to the promoter and endorsed them to do the show.
Hey, aren't you the band that broke a string at your first gig?
No, that was Megadeth.
Over the next few months, the band recorded the 6-track demo tape, No Life Till Leather.
So, not vegans then?
It became a bit of a hit on the thriving tape trading circuit.
I don't feel right about copying and sharing music like this. Aren't we robbing artists of their royalties?
No, it's fine. It helps them with the exposure. I'm sure they won't mind.
That's right. Metallica's success in the early days was very reliant on the 1982 version of a peer-to-peer file-sharing network.
Irony. Ugh, so ironic.
This demo also featured the Hetfield-designed Metallica logo as we know it today.
He could have had an alternative career on Fiverr.
At the end of the year, McGovney quit the band due to tensions with Mustaine.
I can't be in a band with that asshat anymore. He's such a douche.
Don't be that douche.
Lars and James fell in love hard with a bass player from San Francisco called Cliff Burton, and Cliff promised to love them back if the whole band relocated to San Francisco. And they did.
Okay, but we're not wearing flowers in our hair. Unless you really want us to.
This was actually an easier decision than you might realise.
Yeah, hello. San Francisco is awesome, and LA is, so gross.
Where LA's scene was being dominated by the likes of Motley Crue and Rat, San Francisco's Bay Area had a thriving hardcore and metal scene that embraced the dirty denim of Metallica.
Around these here parts, we play our guitars like real men. Hard. With a heavy palming and intricate and precise picking technique that will revolutionize rock guitar for the next generation.
In the meantime, that No Life Till Leather demo had landed on the desk. Well, when I say desk, I mean top of an upturned milk crate of future Megaforce Records founder Marsha and Johnny Zazula.
Metallica sounds like the name of a fanzine.
The Zazulas offered to set Metallica up with some gigs and a record deal if they came to New York.
Hi, I'm Marsha Zazula, and my husband Johnny and I own a record company. Well, when I say record company, I mean record store. And when I say store, I mean stall at a flea market. And when I say stall, I mean we rent a corner of someone else's stall. Would you guys like a record deal?
Okay, but we're not wearing flowers in our hair. Unless you really want us to.
So the boys attached a U-Haul to James's car and they drove across the country. Just 3 fresh-faced, enthusiastic young men. And Dave Mustaine.
What's wrong with him?
That's Dave. Just don't interact with him and you'll be fine.
It looks like a total arse hat.
Arriving in New York with no money, they slept on couches and floors.
Watch where you're walking. You don't want to trip over a Metallica.
They borrowed the rehearsal space used by Anthrax.
At least a good band played in that space once.
Rude.
After only a short time in New York and suspiciously close to that time they drove across the whole country with them, the band fired Mustaine.
See ya, wouldn't wanna be ya.
Violent, abusive behaviour while under the influence is the standard accepted reason for the sacking.
Just being an asshat.
So they put Mustaine on a Greyhound bus and sent him back to the West Coast. I imagine that whole bus ride must have had an atmosphere.
Mummy, there's an angry man on the bus. What's wrong with him?
That's Dave. Just don't interact with him. You'll be fine.
He looks like a total asshat.
Dave went on to form Megadeth, a band the media would try and hold up as Metallica's main rival. Megadeth are a rival to Metallica in the same way I challenged Joe Rogan. We're both podcasts. A number of people listen to Joe, and a different number of people listen to me.
That's twice now you've mentioned Joe Rogan. Have you been taking horse tranquilizers again?
While Dave stewed on that bus, heading back to California, former Exodus guitarist Kirk Hammett flew out east to join the band.
Can I get you a drink, Mr. Hammett, or a steamed towel for reasons that have never been explained to me?
Oh no, that's fine, thank you. The other hostess just did all of that. What's that horrible smell?
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. We just flew over a Greyhound bus with an arse hat on it.
Exodus had played with Metallica and Kirk had the demo, so he learned the songs in a week. They played a few gigs and a month later they went into the studio with former Mojo Men guitarist turned producer Paul Caruccio.
You know, the Mojo Men. Sly and the Mojo Men. The Mojo. They had that song. It had a guitar. You know the one.
Because the No Life Till Leather demo had done so well on the tape trading market and a lot of potential record buyers had already heard 6 of the songs, Johnny Zazula insisted Hammett play the solos the same as Mustaine had played them, which is like hearing...
Do it the way my ex used to.
Hammett went along with it because he didn't want to rock the boat as the new guy, and Zazula was paying for the whole thing after all, which, by the way, had added up to around $15,000 in 1983 money, which in 2024 money would almost buy you a house. Johnny has said...
This was mortgage money I'm spending, not something I've got put by I'm going to invest.
Hello, this is Marsha.
Good day, Mrs. Zazula. It's the bank here. We'd like to discuss your mortgage repayments.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it seems like last month, instead of a payment, you sent us a heavy metal record.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Zazula? Hello? Hello?
When they heard Caruccio's final mix, the band did not think much of the Mojo Man's work.
It's shit!
He got no mojo.
The Zazulas were not happy either.
It's shit.
They paid sound engineer Chris Bubich to remix the final recording.
No, it's fine. We're made of money.
Famously, the band wanted to call the album
Metal Up Your Ass.
And the cover was a dagger stabbing up out of a toilet bowl.
Ouch.
Obviously, it would be a tough sell to get a family-friendly record store in a mall to put that cover out on display.
It's very triggering for people with hemorrhoids.
According to a Revolver magazine interview, Cliff Burton reportedly said,
You know what? Fuck these fire truckers. These record outlet people we should just kill them all.
That's right, the title of this album is based on a threat to murder record outlet people.
You can kill me, but you can never kill all the record outlet people. Record outlets are going to be around forever. Just like Blockbuster and Twitter.
It's called X now.
Shut the fuck up!
According to Kirk Hammett,
Cliff Burton mentioned something about wanting there to be a bloody hammer on the cover. But then Cliff carried a hammer with him everywhere he went. He always had a hammer in his luggage, and he would take it out occasionally and start destroying things.
my dad also carries a hammer everywhere he goes, although he is a carpenter.
Is that a hammer in your pocket?
Yep.
Oh, cool. Nothing weird about that.
Hammett also told this story about Cliff's hammer.
We got stopped at customs and they were going through our luggage, and all of a sudden this guy was going through Cliff's luggage and he pulls out this hammer and he looks at it and he looks at Cliff and Cliff goes,
Hey, you never know when you might need it.
Welcome to Pan United Western Airlines Flight 6662 to Tallahassee. This is your captain speaking. Please do not be alarmed by the sudden loss of cabin pressure. Breathing will get easier once we've rapid unplanned disassembled a few more 1,000 feet. We may be able to correct our current course directly towards the ground with some minor adjustments. Does anyone on board have a hammer?
I got this!
The admittedly goofy toilet humour, metal up your ass and the associated imagery was replaced with a slick, simple, red, black and white only punk rock, blood-stained murder scene somewhere in the Soviet Union.
In Soviet Russia, the hammer swings you.
On the back was the now infamous photo of the pimple-faced children who had produced this sonic wall of distortion and disruption.
If there was any honesty in advertising, Metallica would have gotten that proactive deal and not Pretty Britney. Like Britney ever had any trouble getting a date. Bitch, please!
Metallica are not known for satanic music, but this album's new wave of British heavy metal roots can't be hidden, and there's a nod to Old Scratch in Jump in the Fire.
Blushin'!
The album was released on the 25th of July 1983 and was mostly well received by the underground critics.
I give this album a star for every pimple on the back cover.
It sold 20,000 copies that year and another 40,000 by the end of their first international tour promoting it. In the last 40 years, Kill 'Em All has sold 4.5 million copies.
Admittedly, that is mostly Generation X's rebuying the album over and over again every time the media format changed.
Hey metalhead, did you know we sell black t-shirts with the face of the devil on them? Just saying. And yes, you can get them in double XL.
If you love to swear and you love to fall.
Rude.
Visit SatanIsMySuperhero.com and buy some blasphemy.
So what can we take away from Kill 'Em All? Personally, I think we could all benefit from having a bratty little punk in our lives. And that's why Satan is my superhero. Thank you so much for listening. Rate, review, subscribe, all that podcast stuff. But most of all, please give us money.
Visit SatanIsMySuperhero.com.
If you join our Patreon at the Third Circle of Hell, you'll receive access to exclusive content like this.
Just have a beer break. Would it really be Aussie podcasting in summer without beer breaks?
Yeah, hi, this band. They've played a gig and they only broke one string.
There was this Alexander Ill.
Alexander Ill.
It looks like that.
He splashed water in my face one time, so we already have a connection.
You do? Weren't you like 13?
I was 15, but it was nothing inappropriate.
That's the lawyers to decide.
He was a perfect gentleman.
That's what he's known for.
I mean, he did have a shirt off at the time.
Woof!
Not a joke. What is happening?
I don't know.
The chat GPT write this?
There's a lot of moaning and thrusting and mouth chocolate.
That was really unsexual.
It was a letdown.